So this continues the topic of third-party rights, and we're picking up with third-party beneficiaries. Third-party beneficiary contracts are entirely different from assignments. What they only share in common is that a party who was not part of the contract initially now has acquired rights under the contract. And a third-party beneficiary is created when parties to a contract specifically intend to confer a benefit on a third party. A life insurance contract certainly would be a classic example. So, as I point out, if I enter into a life insurance contract with a life insurance company and name all of my students as beneficiaries, though those students are not parties to the contract, it is clearly my intent and the intent of the life insurance company, because that's the product they're selling, is to confer a benefit on my students who would be the beneficiaries. We could say in that case the beneficiaries are intended third-party beneficiaries. I note in the next paragraph, sometimes parties enter into a contract and the performance of the contract might confer a benefit on a third party, but there is no intent to benefit that party. And I use an example: if my neighbor's house is badly in need of painting and my neighbor enters into a contract with a painting company for the house to be painted, I think it's fair to say I could benefit from the performance of that contract because it'll presumably raise the market value of my house, even though I'm not a party to the contract. But I'm not an intended third-party beneficiary because there was no specific intent on the part of either my neighbor or the painting company to convey a benefit on me. And when a third party benefits in this fashion, the third party is known as an incidental beneficiary. And it's only intended third-party beneficiaries, now I'm in the last paragraph, it's only intended third-party beneficiaries who have the right to enforce the contract. Incidental beneficiaries do not have the right to enforce the contract. And so I recall a case from a while back, so this is, if I could use a real-world example, a woman had a life insurance policy or a contract, and she died, so the beneficiary would certainly be in a right then to receive the proceeds of the policy. The policy had a feature where the policy or the contract paid a greater amount of money if the death was accidental. And I don't want to get into the facts of the case, but there was a question, quite frankly, of whether the deceased committed suicide or died accidentally. They took a fall off of a cliff, which was what happened, really. So in any event, we represented the beneficiary, and we had the right to sue on the contract. And why we sued is that the insurance company was claiming it was a suicide, and therefore they didn't have to pay any extra. Back then it was called a double indemnity clause. And we claimed that it wasn't a suicide, and the life insurance company owed the beneficiary the greater amount. And the case eventually got settled, but significantly notice that even though the beneficiary was not a party to the contract was between the deceased and the life insurance company, that beneficiary, because she was an intended third-party beneficiary, had the right to bring a lawsuit. So I think that sums up sufficiently what I wanted to say about third-party beneficiaries. This will be a bit of a short video. The benefit is you don't have to listen to my voice any further.